you guys. So it's Monday, I don't know, maybe the 10th. I think it's about the 9th or the 10th. What's the date? It's the 10th. It's the 10th of June. My gosh, months just fly by, don't they? It's only time. It's funny when we are, reading a book about the power of now, and the whole idea is to be present in this moment. And what seems to happen is that we lose track of time. We lose time seems to have so much less meaning in a way. There's no hurry. So, but that being said, there's a couple of things I want to say about time. One is that I had a busy weekend, crazy busy, and I haven't done any reading since Thursday, and so I missed this. But we had a great weekend. I had a huge weekend of fellowship with lots of friends, and just had a great weekend, super weekend, and so I'm happy to be back, and happy to be reading again for you guys, and for me. Who benefits from this reading? Clearly, it's me. Clearly, it's amazing what happens, and that's the deal. I benefit hugely. So thanks so much for listening, and for the people that, hey Lonnie, right on. I hope you had a great trip to Bali. So I'm reading now from the book, The Power of Now. This is the 13th day I've read, and we're just starting chapter 7. So love it if you stay with us and listen for a bit. Have you ever read this book, Power of Now? It's really good. It really is. I was listening to my friend Kevin James Carroll, who sings kirtan and devotional singing, and he was talking about how close, how near awakening is for all of us. It's not something that's a distant away, and in his hey Aaron, great to see you, buddy. And what Kevin says is that he does chanting and devotional singing, and we all know that or I don't know if we all know, but I know that because I've chanted with him, and I've been in spots where you basically you go into bliss and in the chant, and it's maybe 80 or 90 or 100 of us chanting, and the amazing awakenings happen in chanting, and it's so close. It really is, and I believe that the same thing can happen in meditation. So when we sit and what is it that keeps us from awakening, and the idea of, I believe, of self-centeredness keeps us from awakening. So and I'll tell you how you can notice that. Let's say that in your meditation, the complaint in meditation often is I'm thinking, and thoughts are keeping me from that space, that so we become aware of our thoughts. So when you're thinking in meditation, when you're sitting and you're kind of wanting to be present and wanting to drop into that space, and the thoughts are coming, who are the thoughts about? If you really look, they're about you. My thoughts are about me. Who am I obsessed with? Me. Who are you obsessed with? Will you tell me? It's often you. And so if we can get past ourselves, if you will, and our worries and our fears and our what ifs into a state of total surrender, then we can have this bliss, we can have this opening, we can have this awakening in each moment. So that's the possibility, is to drop into, and it can happen in song. It can happen I think it can happen in yoga, where we all of a sudden we're no longer thinking of ourselves. We're no longer in our fear or in anything. We're not looking forward with hope or anticipation. We're just here in this moment, and time stands still. According to our friend Mr. Tolle, and so pretty cool, eh? It can happen in it can happen in chanting. We had a friend in last week. His name was James as well, and he 2 nights of chanting. It was amazing. It really was, and such a great time. He also goes by Sadhu Prim, which is a really cool name, I think. And Sadhu Prim and or James McEwen, and he sang for us last week, and we had such a great time. Really, really good. So anyway, I'm going to read, and the whole purpose of this, though, is somehow through self-awareness, through consciousness, we get to maybe have an awakening. We get to see maybe the waste, sometimes how we can, in a way, I don't know if it's true that we waste our time, but we when we're worried about life, when we're worried about our future, when we're in a state of anxiety, which is just another word for fear. Well, we don't have it. It's hard to be happy and be fearful, and so through meditation we shine the light of consciousness into our beings through meditation. It's an amazing thing that happens. We can shine the light of love into each moment through our meditations, and so I mean I think that's what we want, isn't it? We want to be happy, and we realize, I think, after years and years that there isn't anything outside of us that can make us happy. Cars or motorcycles or even relationships, do not make us happy. We feel that thing that we're looking for, that we can find in meditation, that empty space, that moment, the now, is where it happens, and we surrender and we let go of all of our wants and perceived needs. William James was an author around the turn of the century, and he talked about a spiritual awakening of the educational variety, which was amazing. So I think that education, in some ways, knowledge helps to awaken us, and so that's the path that we're on. So I'm going to start right now. Here we go. I've been running on a bit. Chapter 7, Portals into the Unmanifested. Hang on a second. Be right back. Oh, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Reading online. I'm David.
Rachel. Nice to meet you. I'm just looking. I saw you guys have the movie sale. Yes. That's still going on?
James will look after you. I'm reading.
You keep reading. Oh, I think my sister's reading that actually. Tower of Night. Yeah, I've seen that.
Hey, hey.
Good. Is it reading like a certain percentage or just kind of? Yeah. Okay. I'm just getting something from my sister. Some cool things right here.
Just reading online.
Okay.
are not live right now. Guys, it's fun. You both here. Just look after things, eh? Hi, you guys. I'm back. Yeah, James is here. James Earl Donald is doing a few things in the back with some tables, and then Kat, who used to work here, just dropped in. So they're going to wait while I read. And here we go. Portals into the Unmanifested, Chapter 7, by Eckhart Tolle. Going deeply into the body. So in the way he has written this book is that often he starts with a question from one of his students, and so we're going to go into the question, and the question is, I can feel the energy inside my body, especially in my arms and legs, but I don't seem to be able to get more deeply, as you suggested earlier, because Eckhart Tolle believes that if we go into the body, if we get present in our body, it's easier to be present, to be here now, if we're using the body as a he says, make it into a meditation. It needn't take long. 10 to 15 minutes of clock time should be sufficient. Make sure first that there are no external distractions, such as telephones or people who are likely to interrupt you. Sit in a chair or one of David's meditation stools, but don't lean back. Keep your spine erect, like that's exactly what happens in my meditation stool. Keep your spine erect. Doing so will help you stay alert. Alternatively, choose your own favorite position for meditation. Make sure the body is relaxed. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Feel yourself breathing into the lower abdomen, as it were. Observe how it expands and contracts slightly with each in and out breath. Then become aware of the entire inner energy field of the body. Don't think about it. Just feel it. By doing so, you reclaim consciousness from the mind. If you find it helpful, use the light visualization I described earlier. When you can feel the inner body clearly as a single field of energy, let go, if possible, of any visual image or focus exclusively on the feeling. If you can, also drop any mental image you may still have of the physical body. All that is left, then, is an all-encompassing sense of presence or beingness, and the inner body is felt to be without a boundary. All that is left, then, is an all-encompassing sense of presence or beingness, and the inner body is felt to be without a boundary. Then take your attention even more deeply into that feeling. Become one with it. Merge with the energy field so that there is no longer a perceived duality of the observer and the observed, of you and your body. The distinction between inner and outer also dissolves now, so there is no inner body anymore. By going deeply into the body, you have transcended the body. Wow. Stay in this realm of pure being for as long as it feels comfortable. Then become aware again of the physical body, your breathing, and the physical senses, and open your eyes. Look at your surroundings for a few minutes in a meditative way, that is, without labeling them mentally, and continue to feel the inner body as you do so. Nice. Having access to that formless realm is truly liberating. It frees you from the bondage to form, and it frees you from the bondage to form and identification with form. It is life in its undifferentiated state prior to its fragmentation into multiplicity. Wow. We may call it the unmanifested, the invisible source of all things. Nice. The invisible source of all things. The being within all beings. It is a realm of deep stillness and peace, but also of joy and intense aliveness. Whenever you are present, you become transported to some extent to the light. Whenever you are present, you become transported to some extent to the light.
Did you need me in here too?
The pure consciousness that emanates from this source. You also realize that light is not separate from who you are, but constitutes your very essence. Hey, you guys. Wow.
I'm gonna have to read that book now.
So we're here in my office, and also in my office is the money machine. It's a magic money machine, and people put their little cards in it, and the money comes in the bank account. Imagine. Thank you. What did you find?
Thank you. I got her a dream catcher and a bookmark.
Wow, that's so cool. That young lady was buying a gift for her sister. Pretty cool. Okay, you also realize that the light is not separate from you. Oh. I think I'm going to back up a bit. I'm going to back up a paragraph. Having access to that formless realm is truly liberating. It frees you from bondage to form and identification with form. It is life in its undifferentiated state, prior to its fragmentation into multiplicity. We may call it the unmanifested, the invisible source of all things, the being within all beings. It is a realm of deep stillness and peace, but also of joy and intense aliveness. Whenever you are present, you become transported to some extent to the light, the pure consciousness that emanates from this source. You also realize that the light is not separate from who you are, but constitute your very essence. Wow. He's talking about the now, the power in the now. He's talking about, some I think call it divinity, God, total awareness, total consciousness. The next subtitle is called The Source of Chi. Is the unmanifested what in the East is called Chi, a kind of universal life energy? He says, no, it isn't. The unmanifested is the source. Okay, her question again was, is the unmanifested what in the East is called Chi? And he's saying, no, it isn't. The unmanifested is the source of Chi. Chi is the inner energy field of your body. It is the bridge between the outer you and the source. It lies halfway between the unmanifested and the world of form. And the unmanifested, halfway between the world of form and the unmanifested. Chi can be likened to a river or an energy stream. If you take the focus of your consciousness deeply into the inner body, you are tracing the course of that river back to its source. Chi is the movement. The unmanifested is stillness. When you reach a point of absolute stillness, which is nevertheless vibrant with life, you've gone beyond the inner body and beyond Chi to the source itself, the unmanifested. Chi is the link between the unmanifested and the physical universe. So if you take your attention deeply into the inner body, you may reach this point, this singularity, where the world dissolves into the unmanifested, and the unmanifested takes on form as the energy stream of Chi, which then becomes the world. This is the point of birth and death. When your consciousness is directed outward, mind and body arise. When it is directed inward, it realizes its own source and returns home into the unmanifested. When it is directed inward, it realizes its own source and returns home into the unmanifested. Then, when your consciousness comes back to the manifested world, you reassume the identity of that you temporarily relinquished. You have a name, a past, a life situation, a future. But in one essential respect, you are not the same person you were before. You have glimpsed a reality within yourself that is not of this world, although it isn't separate from it, just as it isn't separate from you. It's a pretty good definition of that space, isn't it? Really of God. Now, let your spiritual practice be this. As you go about your life, don't give 100% of your attention to the external world and to your mind. Keep some within. I have spoken about this already. Feel the inner body even when engaged in everyday activities, especially when engaged in relationships or when you are relating with nature. Feel the stillness deep inside it. Keep the portal open. It is quite possible to be conscious of the unmanifested throughout your life. You feel it as a deep sense of peace somewhere in the background, a stillness that never leaves you, no matter what happens out here. I'm going to back up and read that again. That's awesome. Now let your spiritual practice be this. As you go about your life, don't give 100% of your attention to the external world and to your mind. Keep some within. I've spoken about this already. Feel the inner body even when engaged in everyday activities, especially when engaged in relationships or when you are relating with nature. Feel the stillness deep inside it. Keep the portal open. It is quite possible to be conscious of the unmanifested throughout your life. You feel it as a deep sense of peace somewhere in the background, a stillness that never leaves you. No matter what happens out here, you become a bridge between the unmanifested and the manifested, between God and the world. I knew he was going to get to that. Between God and the world. This is the state of connectedness with the source of with the source that we call enlightenment. Don't get the impression that the unmanifested is separate from the manifested world. How could it be? It is the life within every form, the inner essence of all that exists. It pervades this world. Let me explain, he says. We take journeys. He calls this dreamless sleep. We take journeys into the unmanifested every night. When we enter the phase of deep dreamless sleep, we merge. We merge with the source. You merge with the source. You draw from it the vital energy that sustains you for a while when you return to the manifested, the world of separate forms. This energy is much more vital than food. Man does not live by bread alone, but in the dreamless sleep, you don't go into it consciously. Although the bodily functions are still operating, you no longer exist in that state. Can you imagine what it would be like to go into dreamless sleep with full consciousness? Yes. It is impossible to imagine it because that state has no content. The unmanifested does not liberate you until you enter it consciously. That's why Jesus did not say the truth will make you free, but rather you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. This is not a conceptual truth. It is the truth of eternal life beyond form, which is known directly or not at all. But don't attempt to stay conscious in dreamless sleep. It is highly unlikely that you will succeed. At most, you may remain conscious during the dream phase, but not beyond that. This is called lucid dreaming, which may be interesting and fascinating, but is not liberating. So, use your inner body as a portal through which you enter the unmanifested, and keep that portal open so that you stay connected with the source at all times. It makes no difference, as far as the inner body is concerned, whether your outer body is old or young, frail or strong. The inner body is timeless. If you're not yet able to feel the inner body, use one of the other portals, although ultimately they are all one. Some I have spoken about at length already, but I'll mention them again briefly here. Wow. Well, I know I didn't read long today, but I actually have company, and I'm on page 133. I only read about 4 pages, but very powerful though. I really, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm on my 5th page. Very powerful. What I just read, that chapter 7, portals into the unmanifested. Freaking awesome. Yes, Lonnie, I am in Calgary right now. Yeah, I'm at my shop on 42nd Avenue. Pop by. Love you guys. So that's it for today. I'm not going to read much more. A lot of really great content in that. A lot of really great content. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hope you're feeling great tomorrow. Breathe. Your tobacco plant is growing like crazy. I'm going to have to get a bigger pot or plant it soon. It's really, really good. Thank you. So love you guys, and thanks so much for popping by and listening. And get a copy of this book, and let's read it together. We're also have set up a podcast, and I've got to figure out how to get information on the podcast so that you can listen to this on the podcast. I've got a friend who's putting it on a podcast, this reading, which was really cool. Okay, love you lots, Aaron. Yeah, see you tomorrow. And that's it. I have an interview, by the way. A couple of quick things. An interview at 2. I have a lady coming in for an interview. It's going to be very, very, very cool. And she's got some great stuff to talk about. And then tonight at 6:30, we have a meditation here at the store. Lonnie, come for a meditation at the store at 6:30. There's usually 15 or 20 people that come by. We have a nice little group, meditation group, and drop by and sit with us. That's it. Love you. Hopefully we'll see you later today, and check out our website. Maybe follow us on YouTube. We love it if you do that. Cheers. Bye.